Good morning. How is everyone? Can someone just write in the chat that you can hear me? Otherwise, I can or unmute yourself and let you know that you can hear me. Thank you very much. Awesome. All right.
I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to wait just another minute and then we'll get going. As we go through this, I'll be going through the slides. At the end, I will stop the screen sharing and I'll pull my face up and I can answer questions. So as we're chatting, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat so you don't forget. I turned it off so I can't see it. You can put it in your chat if you want to. Otherwise, you can write your questions down and ask at the end. So today, February is Heart Month. A lot of people know that. And so I thought it would be appropriate to do a heart healthy nutrition. Nutrition affects so many things, right? We're always trying to eat better. A lot of people are trying to eat better to lose weight. But we also, when we're eating, we need to be always thinking of our hearts and how that can benefit us. So why does nutrition matter? Right. And a lot of us think, I already know this, I know this, I know this, but I think it's a really good reminder how we're eating and actually what it's doing in our body, right? So the biggest thing to keep in mind with nutrition and keeping a healthy heart is cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and stroke. Both of those, they're not the same. So cardiovascular disease and stroke, it's still in 2026. I just checked January of 2026. The American Heart Association still has cardiovascular disease and stroke claiming more lives worldwide, United States and worldwide, than cancer and accidental deaths combined. That's crazy, right? So we really need to be eating with purpose and intention to protect our heart health. Obviously, nutrition plays a role in that. It plays a role in all of our vessel integrity and making sure that we are, keeping our arteries clear of plaque. And by balancing our diet, we can do that. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Can you everyone make sure that you're muted? Thank you very much. So it does have an impact on our blood pressure, our cholesterol, and obviously our weight. So a lot of people are trying to eat less salt. So excess sodium and poor diets, right? That we really can increase our blood pressure. If you've ever been diagnosed with high blood pressure, you know that your doctor is already telling you to watch your salt intake, limit your processed foods. Processed foods have a lot of salt, right? Also, it affects our cholesterol. So when you're a WIFM patient, you're on this call because you come to our clinic, we're always talking about fiber. Fiber is so good for you. It's good for your gut. It's good for keeping you full, and it's really good for your cholesterol. So we have two kinds of cholesterol. We have our LDL cholesterol. There's two kinds, LDL and HDL. LDL is our lousy cholesterol, and our HDL is our healthy cholesterol. So lousy cholesterol is really, really impacted by our diet and what we're eating. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, the different types of fiber and how that helps our LDL. And our HDL, this isn't on here, but it's a good little tidbit. Our HDL, our healthy cholesterol, we always want that to be higher, and we can get that higher by exercise. Exercise makes our HDL higher, and we need our HDL to be able to do that. So the role in weight management, obviously balanced nutrition, it supports a healthy weight, and it lowers the strain on the heart. So we can cook at home more often, right? That's one of the things we can do that it's amazing how you can be able to do that. Cook at home, not go out. You can manage your salt by eating at home. When we eat out, there's so much salt when we eat out. There's so much affected to our foods that we don't realize with, different fats, saturated fats. So obviously cooking at home, it seems like a no-brainer. Cook at home more often, but when you really think about it and you start to think about your lifestyle, I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people are in very busy seasons of their lives, and thinking of eating at home is very stressful because you're not at home after work. Maybe you're running between activities. What does that look like for your family? So I know for our family, it's kind of a group effort. So you can get your family involved. I always say keep it really simple, right? Like, what's your protein pick a couple proteins for the week. Start with some meal planning. What carbohydrates can you add? And just keep it simple so you can build meals. And that's a very easy way to get a hold of one, your nutrition as a whole, and then your cholesterol. And so, as the health coach here, that's something I do a lot with people. I love talking about food and meal planning and ideas. So, that's something that I think, some people, I would say there's two kinds of people. There's the people that really care about food, and there's the people that don't think about food ever. I'm one of those people that I care about food and I think about food a lot. If I'm eating breakfast, or I know what I'm having for dinner. Um, and I think that it's important to care, right? Because we're always trying to nourish our bodies in a healthy way. And then mindful eating, how you eat. Again, you think, oh gosh, this seems like this is so easy. But how often do you ever eat in your car? How often are you eating while standing and doing something else? How often are you kind of stressed? You're at work, you have 10 minutes, and you're quickly getting your lunch in, if you're eating at all. Or, you're trying to eat quickly before you leave. All of those things, it really affects our digestion, and that mindful eating it's better for your heart. It actually creates stress on our body when we are eating, and not being in, it's called your parasympathetic nervous system, and being in like this rest and digest state. So mindful eating. So it's just another thing to keep in mind. Sometimes, especially if I'm at work, right? You're kind of just in your groove and you're not thinking about it. Sometimes just counting to four, breathing in for four, and then holding your breath for six, and then breathing out for four. Before you eat, it's been proven that helps your digestion. So if you're one that has a lot of like gas and bloating after you eat, that mindful eating really helps. And that can in turn help indigestion, heartburn, which all correlates to the health of our heart. So, one of the things to keep in mind, this matters. And then listening to your body. So, let's say if you're eating really fast, right? Um, you know that sometimes you go back for seconds, you're like, oh, wait, I actually just ate way too much because I didn't take time to kind of listen to my body. Have you ever done that? You're overeating. I think the biggest gift you can give yourself is eating slowly. Digestion starts in your mouth, right? And then you kind of wait, maybe pause for 5 or 10 minutes before deciding if you want more. This is all helping, obviously, overeating, which helps cholesterol, which helps, the weight gain that is part of heart health. All of this is just, it's kind of like puzzle pieces, right? We're putting the puzzle together to a healthy heart. Overeating, which leads to, increased body fat, increased weight, is very hard on our heart. So if we're talking about maintaining a healthy weight, this is really the one of the biggest things, is when you're eating, to listen to your body. Another thing is eating at regular times. Some people really love intermittent fasting and do that, and they only eat at certain times of the day. Some people eat, I always eat breakfast like at 7, or we always eat at 5. That actually is good for you to eat at regular times. If you've ever been someone or know someone who goes between different shifts at work, that's really hard on your body. It's really hard on your digestion, and it can be really hard on your heart. So kind of eating at the same time can really help you to maintain those balanced blood sugar levels, right? And overeating and maintaining energy and your metabolic health. If you've ever stayed up too late, you know you get hungry and all of a sudden you're eating pizza at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock p.m. I can't say that happens much anymore, but it does happen. And then all of a sudden, you're going to bed and it's stressful. It's stressful for your body. You're not digesting your food right. You're not sleeping well. So that's another thing that is having an impact on your heart health. Healthy snacks. Everyone always asks me about snack ideas. Like I said, I could talk about food all day long. Healthy snacks. How are we managing our cholesterol and our heart health? Well, it's food all day long. I always say, food is the hardest of everything. If you're looking at food and movement, we have to eat all day. That's a lot of decisions to be made, right? You come into work and there's donuts on the counter, or someone brings home something sweet or whatever. If you're moving and you have a workout planned, that maybe is a 30-minute time slot that you can check that box and be done with. So food is the hardest. Food takes the most planning and the most preparation. So using snacks to manage your hunger and energies, right? A lot of people, there's so many schools of thought out there. I get asked a lot, is it better to eat twice a day, 3 times a day, and have 2 snacks or 2 meals? And honestly, it's more about what you're eating than exactly how you're eating it, quite honestly. We're looking at what you're eating more. So always thinking of like, what is my most nutrient dense options? And it's usually what has fiber, right? What has protein? What has healthy fat? That is what we're thinking of when we're thinking of snacks. So, 2 hard-boiled eggs with an apple. Well, there's some protein and fat in your eggs and some fiber in your apple. Or you're looking at like a little thing of Greek yogurt. You put some chia seeds in there and some fruit. Well, your protein is your Greek yogurt, your fruit is your fiber, and your chia seeds is your healthy fat. So like I said, I have lots of ideas for healthy snacks and meals. But whenever you're eating, always be thinking, what's my protein? What's my healthy fat? And what's my fiber? Okay. Your fiber is if it comes in a whole food form, it's carbohydrates. It's your veggies, it's your and your fruits. So those will keep your blood sugar stable and those will also keep you feeling full. Back to the fiber, right? This is so, so, so important. Fiber does not get a big enough spotlight. Everyone loves to talk about protein. Protein's really important, 100%. It's very, very, very important. But fiber is really, really important. So are you getting enough fiber? My answer to that question when people ask me about fiber, if you've never tracked it, even loosely, just on a sheet of paper in a day, looking at what you're eating and where that fiber is coming from, if you've never tracked it, chances are you're not getting enough. I tell you, I have to work really hard to get 30 grams of fiber in a day. So I'm going to talk about where the 2 sources of fiber come from and what that looks like. Okay, so there's insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber, it adds bulk to your stool and helps the food pass through quickly. Okay, it supports our healthy bowel movements. Soluble fiber, it dissolves in your gut, dissolves. It forms like a gel-like substance. And the really cool thing about soluble fiber is that it binds to cholesterol in your digestive tract and it actually removes it from your body in your stool. So fiber, not only is it very important to maintain a healthy weight, but it's really, really important to maintain healthy cholesterol. So both of those things do that, insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. Let's talk about what are those, right? Your insoluble fiber is your whole grains, your nuts, some of your veggies, right? And your soluble fiber, it's abundant in your oats, fruits, beans, and legumes. I'm going to go off of another list I have because I think it's helpful. When you're thinking of beans, right, your kidney beans, your lentil beans, your garbanzo beans, other soluble fiber, brown rice, blackberries, apples, barley, Carrots, citrus fruits especially, they're rich in pectin, and it's a type of soluble fiber specifically that can lower your LDL cholesterol. So your citrus fruits are really good. Um, and peas are another one. So we definitely get more fiber than we think if we eat a lot of fruits and veggies and all the not processed whole grains, but you just have to be intentional about it. So that intention, right? 7 to 10 servings, you're like, holy cow, that's a lot. Well, a serving is about a half a cup. So it's the size of a cupped hand. So if you have a nice big salad once in your day, I mean, you could easily get, if you're having 3 to 4 cups in your bowl, there you go. That's your fruits and veggies for the day. You can put apples in your salad and mix it up. So always be thinking, like I said, with every meal, you should always be thinking, what's my fiber? Do I have protein and do I have fiber? Okay, those are the biggest ones. We need to be very intentional about that. Whole grains, obviously, again, that's that whole grain is that insoluble fiber. So adding that bulk to our stool, the whole, anything whole wheat. And then if you're looking at soluble fiber, it's the oats and brown rice and things like that. So both of these, insoluble and soluble fiber, both of these are very good at keeping your blood sugar stable. So when you're looking at I said, what's your protein, what's your fat, and what's your fiber? That is one of the things that's helping keep that blood sugar stable, which is helping keep your weight down, which is heart healthy. And we always want to limit your refined grain consumption. I mean, anything refined, it's elevating blood sugar and, doesn't have a lot of fiber. So, eating fish twice a week. Fish is hard, especially in Wisconsin, right? Um, I am not good with fish, and I know how good it is for me. I am good with tuna, and it just becomes very particular. Do I have to eat fish twice a week? No, you don't. There are supplements, but you can also start small. You can start small. You can try and get creative. There's different ways you can do it. I'm trying to get my teenagers to eat more fish. So last week, we did like a fish bowl, right? So I got frozen fish from Costco and did it in the air fryer and did fish with some rice and sides, just kind of made it with like a little sauce and whatever. So there's different ways you can do it to get it in your diet, to get it in your belly. So plant-based proteins, okay, that we really want to try for plant-based proteins. We're aiming for regular inclusion. Like I said, 3 plant-based proteins at least 4 times a week. You'd have to just, again, if you're eating plant-based proteins, you're eating your fiber. So choosing those heart protective foods, legumes, nuts, and seeds are all good for your cholesterol and incorporating them into easy meals. So your soups, chilies, and salads are the easiest ways to get these kind of things in your meals. I think I run across when I'm talking with people, a lot of people don't realize how easy it is actually to get plant-based proteins and how much you probably get and you don't even realize it. So not only are you getting more protein than you think, right? When you're eating broccoli and peas, you're actually getting quite a bit of protein per cup. You're also getting that really, really good fiber. And this is what's so good for our cardiovascular and our metabolic health. Healthy fats, so good for you. Again, don't be scared of fats. There was a whole decade, I feel like, in the 80s, right, where everything was no fat and low fat. Well, healthy fats are really, really good for our hormones. We need healthy fats to actually digest a lot of our supplements and things like that. So definitely don't fear your healthy fats and try and get them in. Healthy fats, avocado oil, olive oil, hummus, whole avocado, eating whole avocados and nuts. The only thing with fat, it's very true. Well, on the slide, it says, you can get excessive saturated and trans fats. So you have to be careful with where your fat is coming from, but also your fat being more caloric per serving. So it's 9 calories per gram for fat versus like for a protein and carbohydrate, it's 4 calories. So just to be cognizant, I always tell people when you're eating nuts and things like that, it's better just to take out a serving and have your nuts and know what that serving is rather than just kind of eating them blindly because it does add up. They're very good for you, but the calories add up. So just to be a little careful of that. And then I was talking about calories, right? And some people don't, we don't really need to track calories. Some people do if we're trying to kind of get our heads around what's happening. But a lot of times you can just have a plate and have a healthy plate model. Quarter of your plate is protein, a quarter of your plate is the healthy grains, and half of your plate is fruits and veggies. That is by far the easiest way to do it. You'll always, yeah, it really is hard to screw that up. And then also kind of adding somewhere in there, there's healthy fat in there somewhere because something was cooked in olive oil or, there's usually something added. And again, talking about salt, limiting salt, it is important. And I think sometimes we eat more salt than we think, especially if we eat out. If you're eating out 2 to 3 times a week, your weekly sodium is probably more than it should be. So using less salt during your cooking and just tasting it and kind of thinking, does this actually need salt? And also sometimes looking at the labels is really helpful because again, salt is really hard on your cardiovascular system. And also if you're someone that feels puffy often or feels like you retain some water, I would look at your salt. Okay, free sugar. I know that's kind of a different way to say that, but I like that phrase because we want to limit added sugars, right? So free sugar is any sugar that someone stuck in something that's not supposed to be there. So I don't like to say limit your sugar because then someone's thinking they can't eat a banana. No, 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 no. Like fruit sugars, veggie sugars, whole grain, sugar is in our body turns, whole grains into sugar. But God put that there. We didn't put that there. So free sugars are sugars that are added. We don't want added sugars as often as possible. So that ketchup bottle in your refrigerator, take a look at it. See how much added sugar is in there. You can get a really good no sugar added syrup, and that is the best way to do it. And you can get a really good no sugar added ketchup, and that is the best way to do it. You can get bread, like look at your breads and see how much of your bread is sugar. So there's a little tip that I always tell my patients. If you're looking for a good whole grain bread, if you can find it, they're out there. The fiber should be more per serving than the added sugar. See if you can find that. It's much better for you. It's better for your blood sugar and it's better for your heart. So all the little things matter. And at the end of the day, right, life is fun. We do celebrate a lot with food. Um, it's a balance. And like I tell my patients, if your 80% is solid, like I'm working with you to get your 80% foundation solid, solid, solid. You know exactly what's happening. You know exactly what you're doing 80% of the time. If 20% of the time is, here and there and it's not the best and you love some French fries or you want the ice cream, that's your 20%. And that's how it should be. So, all right, I'm going to stop screen sharing. Hi, everyone. And does anyone have, here, let me throw the chat up a second here. What about when you have to watch, yeah, gluten, I don't remember what I was talking about. Gluten, I just look for gluten-free. And if you're looking at gluten, if you're going gluten-free, which I talked to many, many people about, you're just more limited to whole foods. Like, does it come from the ground? Does it come from a tree? That's your option, right?
So more
Um,
like whole grains instead of just flour.
I would. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and if you're, hi Huddle,
I
if you're cooking, then you're definitely trying to cook with gluten-free flour. Um, I'm in the process, I mean, I'm in the process of trying to not do gluten, and I just find myself choosing things less that I probably am better off not having anyway.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whole grains and then gluten-free flour if I need it.
Okay.
Yeah, whole foods are always best. Does anyone have any more questions? I really like peanut butter. Comment on the quality of fats and oh yeah. Okay, so that's a really good question. Peanut butter is tricky. Um, Peanut butter it's saturated fat. However, peanut butter in moderation is never a bad thing. You want the peanut butter that is only, I mean, if you can, if you're, it's choosing, it's like you're choosing, right? So there's Skippy, which has extra oils in it, not the best. However, a lot of people prefer the taste versus natural peanut butter. There's one I get at Aldi that is literally peanuts and salt. That's always going to be better for you. So again, it's just a choice. Like, are you, eating Skippy peanut butter and having like a half a cup at a time? Or can you do like 2 tablespoons and be good? And maybe that's the one thing in your day that isn't great. That's kind of like walking it back and thinking, okay, where does this fit in my day in the scope of everything? Old home peanut. Yes, that is a good one. Okay, where do you get that, Laura?
I actually get it at Festival, but Woodman's has it as well.
Okay.
And it's just purely salt and, so it's peanuts and salt. And
I
it's
love that.
it,
Yes.
it's one that, so all the literally my husband and I, when we're needing a sweet treat, we'll grab our 85% dark chocolate and a little bit of peanut butter on it, and that's our
Oh,
that's our
yeah.
dessert.
The other peanut butter trick is too is warm it up a little because
Yes,
and then a little goes a long way, right?
right.
So if you're like
Exactly.
drizzling it or whatever, okay, I'll look for that one. I get one from Aldi, right? That is the same. It's just peanut butter. It's peanut butter is one of those things I've learned over the years. It's really specific to people. Like, oh, I don't like that kind or I like that kind. Like it can be the a good whatever, but like I tell all my patients, if it's not something that you really enjoy, then let's find something else, right? Okay,
Do
what
you
about
guys
can?
do you guys have Mariano's? That's another option. Do you have Mariano's in Wisconsin?
Oh,
Oh, okay. Maybe it's
well, not
surroundings
here.
because there you can go in. They have a whole thing where you can make your own peanut butter in the
Oh
store,
no, I've
and that's
seen
what I
that.
do.
I think they do that at Pick and Save, which is
Oh, maybe
Roundy's.
it's there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's always a good thing too. And if you're in Appleton, the bulk food store actually has peanut butter that's literally they just made it. Like it's just it comes in clear and it's just peanuts and yeah. Canned items. Yeah. Canned is tricky. Okay. Um, Now, canned items have come a long way because there are canned items that say like they're non-GMO, there's no salt added. You can see how it's made, you can see the added ingredients. Again, it's of course, I'm going to say always choose fresh, never choose canned, but for some people, that's not an option. So, if we're looking at you actually getting in your fiber, actually getting in some nutrients, canned is okay. Can you do it and do fresh? Right? Um, some people are like, my kids will only eat canned green beans. Okay, well then can we do fresh other things? It's just like fitting it in. I wouldn't, if you're making a choice, no, fresh is always better, then frozen, then canned. How does that fit in your day and what does that look like overall? Oh, canning. Canning your own garden items. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, canning your own garden item. Oh, doing the minimum canning salt. Sorry. Yes. No, that's fine. That's fine. And if you don't have a problem with salt, I mean, a lot of people don't even have problems with salt. It's just if salt is affecting your blood pressure, then that's important to weed that out. So, thank you for sharing that peanut butter. Yeah, that's really good. I'm always looking at with peanut butter or anything like that. You know, when you're looking at spaghetti sauces, peanut butters, ketchup, like I'm always turning it over to look and think, what else has been added to this? What else is in here that I actually don't need? And is there another one that works just as fine that doesn't have the added stuff? Any other questions? Thanks for hopping on, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm always here again if at the clinic if you have questions or if you want to set up an appointment. All right. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah. Have a
Bye.
good day. Bye.